Hi guys, so one here back again for another video on the channel. Keeping up a lot of the championship content on the channel lately, and in this one today then we'll be ranking EFL Sky Bet Championship home atmospheres. Now, I have been to all of these grounds bar one, but I will still give my evaluation on the ground, as I have had a lot of fans give me their insight on this specific team's home atmosphere. Now, this can spell from how many times I've been to the ground. For example, I've been to Hull 5 or 6 times, but I've only been to Sheffield Wednesday twice, for example. So it depends on, of course, the result for that team, the all-round experience. Was it a good day for them, bad day? And yeah, it just takes into effect that my opinion could be a lot different to what a Preston fan thinks, what a Middlesbrough fan thinks, or Watford fan thinks. So if I do harshly rank your team, don't get too offended. It's just a Swansea fan opinion. And at the end of the day, Swansea is so far for everywhere else, then, you know, it's not going to be a great game for most teams coming up against the Swans. But anyway, in this video, I'll be doing a tier list. So you'll be seeing half of my face, half of the tier list. And let me know down below, guys, if you've been to any of these championship grounds, let me know if you agree or disagree with my opinion. Let's get into it. So we're not starting off with alphabetical order, we're just going to go in a random order. And first up we have Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, I'm going to say it straight away, elite. Their fans, especially at the Riverside Stadium, are absolutely insane. Behind the goal, they don't stop throughout the game. They had a really tricky start towards last season under Chris Wilder. Their first win of the season was actually against Swansea. But even when they were picking up results under Chris Wilder, they were still supporting their team. A few seasons ago, you know, they did tremendously well in the FA Cup, being Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, eventually losing to Chelsea. But, you know, they would never have that good FA Cup run without the fans right behind them. Of course, having the away fans next to the singing section always helps the atmosphere. But honestly, I think Middlesbrough fans are definitely top 3 in the Championship. They are insane. Next up, Blackburn Rovers. Now, I've gone poor for this one. Blackburn, of course, are a huge club, have a good fan base at times, but the last couple of seasons have been quite tricky for Blackburn, and the times I have been to Blackburn Rovers, they've not really been pushing up to the playoffs, been low mid-table, and you could tell with the atmosphere at Ewood Park, it's never that good. Obviously last season I didn't go to the stadium, so it would have been a little bit different, but the times I've been to Blackburn, it was an end of season game, so obviously the atmosphere's not going to be great there, and I went opening day of the season, I didn't think the atmosphere was great there either. So yeah, Blackburn poor, but of course I think when they're versing other Lancashire clubs like Preston, Blackpool last season, Burnley, then the atmosphere would have been a lot better. Bristol City, I've gone average. Now, Bristol City's a weird one. At times, they can be tremendously good. At times, they can be really poor. Now, I went to Bristol City twice last season, once in the FA Cup and once in the Sky Bet Championship. And I actually thought they were a lot better in the FA Cup when there was a lot less people there. The problem with Bristol City is their singing section is a total distance away from the away stand, is completely the opposite direction. So when the away fans are singing, of course, you're not going to hear the home fans, and when the home fans are singing, you're not going to hear the away fans. So it's a slight disadvantage, really, in terms of the atmosphere. I feel like Bristol City would be doing a lot better if they had a singing section next to the away stand. So, you know, you can have the banter and you can have just the all-round game chanting. But average, I think, for Bristol City. At times they are quite good, but at times, you know, you can hear basically nothing. Up next, Cardiff City, I've gone average. Again, similar with Bristol City, really, where their singing section is not next to the away fans, which is a real big factor, in my opinion, in this video anyway. Now, Cardiff, I've been to Cardiff so many times over the last couple of years. Obviously, for Swansea fans, it's been amazing because we always tend to win there. But I've actually been there when we drew 0-0. The atmosphere that day was pretty good. But understandably, you know, the Cardiff fans at their stadium, when they're playing us, are a little bit nervy, especially when we go ahead, are a little bit quiet, because, you know, it's deja vu all over again, really. But I did think they were pretty decent, especially when they had that goal back with Philogene, and then obviously Sorry-Kaba scored to make it 2-2. They really, really did well there. But overall, I've gone average just because, especially in the South Wales derby, the away fans never stop. Even if Cardiff come down here, they don't stop singing. So it's kind of hard to get an evaluation. And obviously, they didn't even sell out in the last couple of South Wales derbies either. So, yeah, average. Next up, we've got Birmingham City. I have gone for good. Now, Birmingham City are a tremendous club. A lot of history. Obviously, they've got a lot of problems with their stadium, but one thing they don't have problems with is their fans. Now, if I was ranking away fans, maybe Birmingham would go a tier higher. But in terms of their home atmosphere, I'm going to go for good. At times, you know, Birmingham City is one of the hardest places to go in the Championship, because when the team are fully behind John Eustace's men, you know, it's so hard to get a result because it can be. It's incredibly tricky to get there, but sometimes it is kind of toxic, especially towards the owners of Birmingham. So, you know, in terms of the atmosphere, it's not great, is it? So I've gone for good, because at times Birmingham, the times I've been there, they're always beating their team, but of course they do have some off-the-field issues as well. Coventry City next. Of course, if they won against Luton Town, I'd be ranking Luton Town right now instead of Coventry. But Coventry City, I've gone for elite. Coventry, even though they have a lot of empty seats at their stadium, especially I think it's the family stand opposite the away fans. The side next to the away fans, about 3,000-4,000 of them, are absolutely tremendous. They've got a drum, so some people say, you know, you shouldn't have drums at the football, but for me, it just helps build the atmosphere, especially from a Swansea point of view where we have a drum as well. But Coventry fans are absolutely immense, especially at the Coventry Building Society Arena, as it's called these days. Yeah, they're really, really good. I remember when we drew their 3-3 last season, we got the third goal after we were 3-0 down, and they were still back in their team. They were still behind Mark Robbins' men and still giving chanting and stuff like that. So fair play to them. They've been through some tough times, and honestly, it's one of my favourite grounds to go to, especially where their fans are singing. Leeds United, of course, relegated from the Premier League back into the Sky Bet Championship, and the times I've been to Leeds United, elite. They are fans at Ellen Road are absolutely immense, I've got to be honest. It's not just the fans next to the away fans who sing. It's the side all the way behind the goal the other side. It's the middle section. It's all of Ellen Road. Now, the only problem with Ellen Road is the prices of tickets, but I'm not ranking prices of tickets in this video. It's the ranking home fans atmosphere, and Leeds fans are absolutely immense. Now, I know at Premier League level, you know, it could have been a bit quieter just because they got bad a lot of weeks because their recruitment wasn't great. But when I've been to Leeds United in the past, I think I've been there twice or 3 times now. But yeah, Leeds are elite. Queen's Park Rangers up next. I've gone for average. Now, QPR are a weird one. When they're doing really well, the atmosphere tends to obviously be very good. But when they're doing bad, unlike teams like Leeds, Coventry, who get being their team 24/7, QPR is a little bit quiet at times. Now, they do have this Moroccan fan with a thing in his hand. That can be kind of annoying, can kind of wind the away fans up. But overall, QPR is a really good away day. But in terms of atmospheres, I think it's average. Southampton, a new one. I've not been to Southampton for a couple of years now, so my evaluation of this could be a little bit outdated. But the time I went to Southampton, it was poor. So I'm going to put them in poor. Now, of course, when I went to Southampton, they weren't doing so good. Of course, it was the time where Swansea City and Southampton were in a relegation battle together. So, of course, the atmosphere wasn't really great. I'm assuming Southampton fans will say Swansea atmosphere is not great. That's all good. It's just an opinion. But yeah, the time I went to Southampton, it was poor. You know, they had, of course, with the Premier League, they had a lot of glory fans come in. A lot of overseas fans come in just to ground hop and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that, I guess. But in terms of atmospheres, it doesn't help. Now, the singer section is next to the away fans, which is great. But in terms of the game, I think Southampton won 1-0, but it wasn't a great game at all, which didn't help the atmosphere. So yeah, I go Southampton poor, but if I get to go there this season, I'm sure my opinion will change. Next up, we got Stoke City, and this is my first terrible category. Now, I feel sorry for Stoke, just because they've played us every single season since 2010, 2011. It's consistently Stoke away midweek, Stoke coming to Swansea midweek. Now, Stoke, I'm pretty sure when you're playing Midlands teams like West Bromwich Albion or a big team like Leeds United, the atmosphere is pretty good at the Bet365 Stadium. But every time you seem to play Swansea, it's just flat. Now, I know our attendances at Stoke don't really help, but honestly, Stoke, it's just one of those teams which I hate playing now. We've played them so many times over the years. The fans are fed up playing each other. And yeah, there's no disrespect. Stoke, I'm pretty sure you'd say some of the atmosphere is crap, which is fair enough. But honestly, yeah, every time Stoke plays Swansea, the atmosphere is really bad, even if we win. The only time the atmosphere actually seems to get pretty good is when Sam Klukas plays, but he's no longer there. But yeah, Stoke at times can be a really, really good fan base at home, but they've had so many tricky years over the last couple of years. The attendances are going down. Obviously, they're going through a big transition at the moment. A lot of players leaving the club. So yeah, the atmosphere for me is terrible at the moment anyway. Joining Stoke City in the terrible category, we have got Watford. Now, Watford, I've been there a few times. Went there in the Premier League days where they had Odion Ighalo and Troy Deeney up front. The streets will never forget those two up there with Pap Cisse and Demba Ba in terms of, you know, elite striker partnerships in the Premiership. But, yeah, in the Championship, it's a tricky one. The singing section, is totally opposite where the away fans are, and the stands next to the away stand at Watford are not really interactive at all, to be honest. A lot of families there, so they're more focused on, you know, watching the game, which is fair enough, than giving some gestures to the away fans and stuff like that. But yeah, Watford, terrible. Obviously last season was a terrible season for Watford. The estimations were a lot better than what they should have got. Obviously, they went through a lot of managers yet again. Same with Watford. See if how many managers they go through this season. But yeah, when we beat them 2-1 last season, the game had like 19 minutes of added time, so a lot of people were tired. And even before that, even in the Premier League days, again, you got the Premier League glory hunter fans. So yeah, I'm sure Watford, when they play again Luton or London clubs, the atmosphere's a lot better. But the times I've been to Watford, it's been a terrible atmosphere. Ipswich Town, the first ranking of a newly promoted side in this video, and I've gone for good. Ipswich, really, really good fan base. When I went to Ipswich, only one time, unfortunately. Probably a good thing, really, the distance from Swansea to Ipswich. Don't want to go there too often because I'll be absolutely knackered. But yeah, Ipswich were rock bottom under Paul Lambert. Literally, weren't mathematically relegated, but they were going to go down, and they did go down in the end. But it was a dead rubber, essentially. Swansea were mid-table in the Graham Potter. We won 1-0. Dan James scored the goal. But overall, the atmosphere I thought was really, really good from Ipswich fans. Even towards the end of the season, you could see the photos of the team going round. Now, when a team gets relegated, usually, you know, you'd have a lot of fans staying, but basically 85% of the Ipswich stadium stayed behind Paul Lambert's team, clapped them off, and, you know, just sang Ipswich songs. And obviously now back in the big time championship. So yeah, Ipswich, good atmosphere. Would have been elite, but I just haven't been there enough to give that evaluation. Huddersfield Town, I've gone for average. Now, a tricky one with Huddersfield. I've been there a few times. Sometimes they've been absolutely elite, but sometimes they've been really poor. So I've balanced it out, going in average. Now, Huddersfield, of course, last season had a terrible season. Obviously, helped them stay up with Neil Warnock in charge. I was going to say promoted then. That would have been an incredible story, wouldn't it? But overall, Huddersfield's such a really good away day because the singing section, again, with the drum right next to the away fans, only a little bit of barricading as well, so you can really, you know, give some banter to the home fans. So it's really, really good. And even the fans to your left of you as well, they give some banter as well. So it's really, really good atmosphere, really good away day. I'd recommend it. But in terms of atmospheres, I've gone for average just because sometimes I've gone there, it's been really good. Sometimes I've gone there, it's been really poor, especially that 0-0 in the Premier League. That was really poor for both teams. Hull City, I've gone for good. Hull are a weird team. In terms of their away section, they seem to change every season. You're either in the corner, behind the goal, even further to the corner, even further to the net. I think I've been to Hull the most times out of any EFL club. I think I've been there 5 or 6 times now. So I seem to love Hull City away, and I've probably been 2 or 3 different parts of their stadium already. They seem to change it every single week. But Hull, really, really good fan base at home. Now, I know their attendances aren't great at times, but they're starting to boost their attendances now with the new owner really slotting in and getting the backing of Hull City fans, which is really good to see after, you know, they've had some really bad ownerships in the past. And I can't remember his name, Akram or something like that. But yeah, anyway, Hull home atmosphere, really good. Norwich City, I've gone for poor. Now, similar to what I said about teams like Blackburn, Stoke, Watford, when you're playing Swansea at home, it's not really an interesting game unless you're Bristol City or Cardiff City or Bristol Rovers or something like that. So I can understand Norwich fans why the atmosphere is not great at Swansea. I've said poor, by the way, I'm not sure if I've already said that. But yeah, in terms of Norwich Swansea, again, we don't bring many fans to Carrow Road, so there's not much banter going on there. So it kind of does impact the evaluation I've put on Norwich here. But in terms of Norwich, every time we seem to play them, it's always a dead rubber or like a horrible fixture. Like, we played them on Friday night before, obviously the atmosphere's not going to be great there on Sky Sports and stuff like that. And then we played them last season right towards the end of the season where both teams had nothing to play for, so the atmosphere was really poor. So yeah, hopefully we'll play Norwich at a good time this season. Leicester City, I've gone good. Now, Leicester would have gone a step above for me here, but there's one thing which lets them down. The bloody clappers, they are so annoying. Now, I don't know if they still have them anytime, but the times I went to Leicester, oh my god, the clappers were so annoying, because the away fans were trying to build an atmosphere and the home fans were just drowning out by clapping the clappers. But overall, Leicester fans at home are really, really good. Especially, I went when they won the Premier League in that title season. I think they beat us 4-0, I think, which was obviously a bit of a humbling experience there. But yeah, Leicester fans were really good. Obviously, last couple of years have been a bit tricky for them after winning the FA Cup. But overall, good. Sunderland AFC Elite. Sunderland, arguably one of the best fans in England, if not the best. I'm not going to get into that debate. I know there's going to be Middlesbrough fans watching, maybe Newcastle fans, so I don't want to get into that debate anyway. But overall, Sunderland fans, you know, they've got the biggest stadium in the Championship. Some attendances they were getting last season were an absolute joke in terms of how many fans they were getting for an EFL Championship game. I think one of the highest attendances last season were against Swansea and we beat them 3-1, so, you know, only there to watch Swans. I'm joking. But overall, yeah, Sunderland fans are absolutely class. Only problem is the away fans so high up, it's kind of hard, you know, to get a bit of banter going. But overall, you know, when Sunderland score a goal, you can feel your chair shaking. That's how good Sunderland fans are. But Plymouth Argyle now. So Plymouth are the only team I've not been to. Unfortunately, I've not been around Plymouth either, so I can't really give an estimation about that. But I've got a few mates who went to Plymouth in a friendly and went to Plymouth as a neutral game last season against Exeter, as I wanted to see what the Devon derby was all about. And they said, obviously in the friendly, not great, so I'm not going to give much evaluation on that. But the derby game, they said it was really impressive. Both fans were pretty good. Obviously, it was a bit of a topsy-turvy game. Plymouth ended the game 4-2 winners. So I'm going to go average just because I can't give my evaluation on it. But they said they would give good. I'm going to go average, though, because it's kind of hard to put them in a category like Birmingham, where I've put good, where I've been to Birmingham. So Plymouth, I'm sure your home atmosphere is great. I'll definitely go in there this season anyway. But yeah, I've not been to Plymouth, so I'm just going to go average just to make it fair to the other teams. But I'm sure your atmosphere is great. Preston North End. I'm going to go terrible. Unfortunately, Preston, similar story to Norwich, Hull, where Swansea come in to your place is not the most exciting of games. We had Preston midweek last season. And yeah, safe to say it wasn't fun for either side, really. Preston fans, of course, don't sell out at times, have quite a small stadium, and the fans who do have the singing section anyway is totally opposite the away end, which is kind of unfortunate. Last season they did have some sort of fans next to you, but that wasn't regular, and they did move them in the end. So yeah, I'm going to go terrible, because especially in that midweek game last season, you could hear a pin drop. Rotherham United, I have gone for poor. Now, we had Rotherham on the opening day last season, and yeah, I thought the atmosphere was pretty poor. You had the Rotherham manager at the time, who's now the Derby manager, Paul Warne, going around clapping the fans, obviously after getting promoted from League One, and yeah, it was just such a dead response to that from Paul Warne. But yeah, I'm sure Rotherham are good again when they're versing the Yorkshire sides or the North East sides, because it's a bit more of a rivalry there. But yeah, with Rotherham, I didn't think it was great. Poor. We've got Millwall now. I've gone for poor again. Now, the problem with Millwall is there's so many teams in London. Obviously, Millwall aren't one of the most attractive clubs in London. But fair play to the Millwall fans who do turn up now and again. But overall, you know, if they could pack out that stadium, then the atmosphere would get going. But overall, it's just the same chant all the time. It's just a little bit meh. And yeah, at times it can be good, but overall I thought the atmosphere was poor. Next up, Sheffield Wednesday. I've gone for Sheffield Wednesday good. Close to going elite, but I've gone for good. Now, Sheffield Wednesday, huge stadium. I said Sunderland was the biggest, but I'm not sure it was Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland who's the biggest. I think it's Sunderland, but Sheffield Wednesday is definitely up there. Of course, no Darren Moore now. Obviously, last season when they were winning week in, week out, the atmosphere I've heard was absolutely immense. Really hard to get a result at Hillsborough last season if we were a League One side. But overall, it's pretty good. Like I said, close to going elite, but the times I've gone there, it's not been too bad, but it's not been, you know, great enough to go in the league. But hopefully I'll be able to go there this year. On to the last two, we got West Bromwich Albion. I'm going to go for good as well. Obviously, having the singing section right next to the away fans really helps the atmosphere go. West Brom have some really good fans, especially away as well. But in terms of home, it was quite funny when they had Steve Bruce, really, because they were trying to get behind the team, but as soon as they conceded the goal, all the attention went towards Steve Bruce, which was kind of funny. But overall, West Brom's a good away day and a really good atmosphere. So last up then, we got my club, Swansea City. Now, I can go for average for the Swans. Now, at times, we can be really good. When we're playing big teams who bring a big away following, you know, we're always up for it. But when we're versing teams who bring a small away allocation midweek, you know, the atmosphere is quite poor, especially when we're in a really bad run. The atmosphere has never tend to be so good. So I'm not going to be biased and say, you know, we're brilliant. It's similar with Cardiff and, you know, the other teams that are average, really. QPR at times really good, but at times are really poor. So I've gone for average, but honestly, when we're versing a big club or a big away following, one of the best in the league, but honestly, when we're playing a team who aren't doing so well or bringing really poor away followings, yeah, you know, you can't really get the atmosphere going, which which is fair. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Trying to reach 6,000 subscribers towards the end of the year. Big task, as I've been stuck on 5,500 for a long time. Let's get away from that. Let me know if you've been to any of these grounds and give me your rankings down below. Let me know if you've been to the home park, Plymouth Argyle. Let me know what you'd rank that stadium. Like I said, I've been to 23 out of the 24 stadiums in this division. Last season I went to all 24, but obviously Plymouth getting promoted did not help me at all. But yeah, I think my evaluations are fair. Probably would change one or two, but let me know your evaluations. Hopefully you haven't got offended. Like I said, when you're visiting Swansea at home, it's not really a huge game, but this is just my rankings overall. So if I don't get too offended, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out, and yeah, have a good day. I need one more chance. Oh, baby, let me show you. I need one more chance.